Coming to you from sunny Orlando, Florida. Welcome to the Paperstac podcast, where we cover current topics in the note industry, give you tactics for your note business, and talk with industry leaders to make you a better note investor. And now, your hosts, Brett Burky and Rick Allen.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Paperstac podcast. Rick Allen, Brett Burky here. So excited today for our guest. Got a lot of good stuff to go over. She's been in the industry for a long time and has started a new endeavor, same industry. Wanted to welcome Shante Duffy to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, we're super excited to have you here. I know I've been in the servicing industry for a long time. When I first boarded loans with a servicer, you were one of the people that we started with. And I think we boarded our first loan. It's probably been like at least 6 or 7 years, maybe 8 years.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Early on into my starting work in this industry.
Yeah, definitely. Tell us your background. Unpack for us. Tell us a little bit past where you're born, where you came from, how you got into the industry, and what do you have going on now?
Absolutely. So born and raised in New Jersey is where I will forever stay. I genuinely got into this industry because I am a mom. I had my son almost 10 years ago. I spent the first year at home with him and realized that I was not cut out to be a stay-at-home mom. And I genuinely just was looking to get back into work and something that was close to home because I had never left him before. And I came across a servicing company that was within 3 miles of my home. Didn't know anything about loan servicing. I didn't know anything. I honestly thought it was like a scam. I had never heard of servicing company. The most I knew about mortgages at the time was you either pay your mortgage or you lose your home. Pretty straightforward. I didn't know there was a secondary space. And I started as an admin assistant. And just over the past 8, almost 9 years, have been learning through just experience and kind of boots on the ground approach. And climbed my way up and gained knowledge every single day and discovered that I love this industry. It's definitely challenging, but the fun part is working with investors. That's my favorite part. And here I am and decided to take a giant leap, take a huge risk, and decide to start my own servicing company. So here we are almost 9 years later and hit the ground running.
That's cool. How long have you been working on the new servicing company?
Just for a few months, to be 100% honest. I was already working with another servicing company and just decided I thought I needed to change. And then I sat around for a few weeks and I'm not meant to just sit. I was bored. I love my son to death. I was spending time with him, but I was like, I can't do this. And I was actually approached by a few investors and they were like, hey, you left the space, but you love it. You've always said that. And we love you. Why wouldn't you just do it on your own? And I was like, okay, because there's a big part of me, again, born and raised in New Jersey. I'm never leaving. This is just home. This is where my family is. This is where I want to raise my son. Crazy state that we have here. And it was one of those, okay, I'm up for the challenge, not realizing what type of challenge this was. Because it's very different than what I'm used to. I understand the day-to-day in a servicing company and the actual servicing of loans, when loans get boarded, the loss mitigation, working with customer service reps and asset managers, attorneys, dealing with bankruptcies, understanding all of that, but the actual setting up a servicing company, that's something I didn't know about. So I'm over here, yeah, I can do it. And definitely had a little bit of a learning curve, but I'm learning. And that's been the most fun part of this entire thing, understanding how to get licensed, the softwares we need. I come from the background where a lot of that was already done for me. So I just had to do everything else, which is the fun part. But I'm learning and have been learning and spending a lot of time researching, speaking with different states, talking to attorneys, talking to other vendors, trying to figure out how to make sure that our servicing company runs as smooth as possible.
So it's like working in your business versus working on your business.
Yeah.
You're getting to do the work on your business part right now, which is, that is fun because same thing when we started Paperstac. I knew about note trading. I knew about investing in notes. But running a technology company or developing a technology,
it's different.
It is different. It's all in the same space, but man, there is a ton of different things you need to think about. So that's really awesome. What's the name of your servicer?
55 Loan Servicing, LLC.
Okay.
The 55 actually stands for By Investors for Investors. So
Nice.
I have a few partners where they actually are no investors.
Okay.
And
And your investor or your partners are, what are their names?
Oh, Christopher Seveney and Jamie Bateman.
Okay. I've heard of those
They
guys. Yeah, we know them.
Yep, I know you do. They approached me after noticing that I left my prior employer and was like, Shante, like, why don't you try this? This is what we've been trying to do. So it'd be cool to have you part of this. So it was definitely, I've known them very well, very long time. And I love them just as people in general. They are definitely a few of my favorite clients to work with back in the day. And so they were like, what do you need? And we'll help you out with it. And the best part about having them as partners is that they are actual note investors. So bringing all of our minds together, I come from the background of servicing. So I understand the pitfalls there. I for years just would hear why lenders were upset, what would stress them out, what their expectations of a servicer. And then I also watched every servicer in our space in the secondary market, where some of them are great at one thing or a few things, but they lack in others. So I got to hear, I love feedback. I love people's opinions. I love hearing that what's good and what's bad. And I spent a lot of time sitting down and, okay, we're going to be a little bit different. And so I spend a lot of time just outside of my two partners, talking to other investors that I built relationships with over the past few years and wanting to know their biggest headache, their biggest stressors. What are they expecting from their servicer? And if it was realistic or if it wasn't. And then how to make sure we met their need. And because what you guys would need as an investor, a lot of other investors would potentially need, but they're afraid to ask. They're afraid to speak up. I like the loud people. I like the people who complain because that gives us a little bit of more motivation and drive to figure out how to fix these they're just little holes. I always say that servicers, we're the bad guys in this note space. You guys don't like us, but you need us. I, of course, want to be wanted as well as needed. So taking that feedback is very important to me. I wanted to make sure that this was a servicing company that was for investors and that within, as a servicer, keeping things in regulation and keeping things within compliance and following laws, that was still there, but that we met the need of investors. We don't really want you guys to have to do too much legwork. That's what your servicer's for. We also realized that there's just certain across the board in servicing, there's strengths and then there's our weaknesses. So I've spent a lot of time these past few months talking to different vendors where their strong points are where we lack and partnering up with them to make sure that we hit every need that we've heard and that we've requested or has been requested from us. I've definitely tackled a few different vendors to assist us, whether it became down to foreclosure management, escrow management, forced place insurance, REO, property preservation. Those are things that, as an investor, you need. But as a servicer, we're really good at the loss mitigation side and keeping things within compliance. So it's okay to lean on some other people. And I was able to get a lot of these vendors to change a lot of their systems to fit what you guys as investors would need. So I'm super excited about that. And I'm testing a lot right now before I open the doors to other investors. But I'm super excited to see those relationships come into play and start working.
Are you new to the mortgage note industry? Have you been wanting to learn the step-by-step process to purchase your first mortgage note? Well, you're in luck. We've convinced our CEO, Rick Allen, to break down everything he knows about mortgage note investing. Through a series of 50 videos, you'll get everything from start to finish of where to purchase notes, how to purchase notes, and all of Rick's investing techniques he has developed over the many years. From performing note tactics to non-performing notes, Rick gives you everything he knows about investing. Bonuses include our glossary of industry terms, Rick's own proprietary calculators he created to evaluate notes, discounts from our partners, our Rolodex of vendors, a private Facebook group, along with a lot more. We've packed so much content into the Academy to take you from beginner to expert in no time. To learn more about the Academy, go to academy.paperstac.com/welcome. Again, that is academy.paperstac.com/welcome.
That's awesome. It's like I said, it's always good to work on the business and in the business. What has a couple questions for you? One, you did all this research, you started doing customer exploration, talking to your future customers. What were some of the biggest complaints that you heard? We asked this question to Chris, and he was, like, as you said, a great mouthpiece. He had no problem voicing his opinion, which I love also. I love it. It's the speaking wheel. But so one is I'd like to know, like, what are like the top 3 to 5 complaints you heard? But also, how are you fixing those, and what's your plan to like tackle that and make Wi-Fi like the best servicer out there?
So we'll start with the most obvious, which to me is the most important: communication. That is I sat down with a whole bunch of different people, and that was everybody's first piece. And then things came after. Communication is to me the most important. You guys, as investors and lenders, you should always have an idea of what's actually going on with your investment. You shouldn't actually have to be reaching out to your servicer to ask, hey, did my borrower make a payment? Or, hey, was this tax bill paid? Or things like that. It should be readily available to you. And you should actually be getting notified, not the other way around. I also understand investing is not everyone's full-time job. They legitimately have regular full-time jobs and families. So the investment should be going on its own, and you guys should just be getting notified. So communication was the biggest push. We're using a lot of automation and technology and different processes from our team to make sure that you as lenders are not necessarily reaching out to find out. We're giving you that information. We don't want, I know there's a lot of communication breakdown when it came down to loans that were in bankruptcy or in a foreclosure. That was a big one. Not understanding, especially for the newer investors that are still a little green, not knowing these processes and how long they can take and what attorneys need and working with courts, even outside of COVID, before all of COVID and everything shut down. That was a big headache for people. And I understand trusting and putting everything with your servicer, but you guys should never be flying blind. And I used to get frustrated with getting emails. So someone should have told you that. I don't necessarily work loans, never really have, but I just felt that there needed to be a little bit more transparency. So we won't offer, I know there's some servicers out there that offer that you guys can manage your own loans and handle your own loss mitigation and foreclosures and things like that. We are not allowing that. Number one, it's a compliance issue. We end up getting fined, and those fines easily could be passed off to you guys, and they are hefty fines. And number two, no one should be out of the loop. So we plan on keeping everything streamed together between us, any attorneys, and the lender. There's no email that should be going to an attorney regarding a foreclosure or a bankruptcy that you as a lender is not included on. You should be able to learn how this process goes by watching the communication that's coming directly to you. You can absolutely respond, ask questions, things like that, but we all need to be on the same page. And we all need to understand what's going on. As your servicer, we need to know, we need to be able to act and take action. But you guys, as the investors, also need to understand what's happening and how long these processes do take and how long they can take. I know people are eager. So that first point of communication, that's upfront. Transparency with that communication is very important to me. I don't want you guys guessing, and I definitely don't want you guys being like, oh, Wi-Fi's horrible because they don't answer the phone or they don't talk to me. That's always been a pitfall. The second most important thing that I heard about was escrow servicing. A lot of people, from what I've heard from the people I've talked to, they struggle with understanding how their servicer handles escrow. They felt that they shouldn't be contacted to go to track down a tax bill when you're paying for a service. You're spending money, additional money each month for escrow services. And if they sat down and started to question, what exactly am I paying for? You're going to have me do the legwork when it's technically you that's collecting the money and dispersing it. You should be able, you have the information, you should be able to obtain that on your own. That was a big, hey, I don't have the time for this. When you have one or two loans, that's great. Lenders have no problem. But I've worked with lenders that have over 100 loans. And that's a lot of their time to sit there and go track. So that was one of those, hey, as a servicer, you're offering a service, it should be start to finish, not have me start it and then you guys carry it out after. That was a big, huge issue, which I didn't realize was that important to a lot of investors. Didn't understand why they were frustrated with that. And I definitely had to change that because I heard it from several different investors. And it was news to me, but I appreciated the honesty because you're feeling like that. I'm sure that there's several other people who do and just aren't comfortable with speaking up and things like that. So those are definitely the top two. And the third one, which is my all-time favorite, is all about forced place insurance. Getting those policies, every servicer does it a little bit differently. I've talked to other servicers about how they handle it and how it is stressful for investors. They're not sure. It's easy to tell somebody how to place forced place insurance and, hey, this is what I need. But hey, are you covered under the right policy so that when something happens, and you need to file a claim, that claim is filed correctly and all of that. So I actually reached out to two different vendors to help out with the tax side of things and then the force-based insurance side of things to eliminate those stressors and those fears. Get it to be easy to understand. Insurance is hard. Diving in, it's difficult. It's not something I expect every person to understand. And I basically had to go through a lot of meetings and calls and hours, making sure that I understood it to be able to relate back to my clients how things actually work and why things need to be set up a certain way. I want to make sure that you guys are set up correctly. And that's why, I spend a lot of this time making sure that I understand so I can relay that in the most basic terms. Because once you start throwing fancy stuff out there, you lose a few people. But just want to make sure that everybody has the understanding so they know and they know the process of things and they're not flying blind. I've heard investors request copies of policies, their servicers' force-based insurance policy, and some servicers won't send it. You send it. If someone asks, that's only like every client you ask. I got to a point, I was like, everyone's just going to get a copy of it. Once they place it, you're going to get a copy.
That's
you
great.
should know.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's all the stuff that you talked about are the stuff that we would expect and we've heard in the past. These are the big issues. Sounds like it's a lot of work. You start thinking about, look, I'm setting up insurance. I'm setting up licensing. Like, is it expensive to set up a loan servicer?
It is very expensive. I had no idea.
Like, are we a couple $1,000, a couple $50,000, $100,000, $1 million? What are we talking?
Probably over 100,000, and this
Wow.
is just us started. I bought office space. I did
Oh, wow.
not rent. So I decided I found space. It's close to my home. That was my only criteria. I wasn't opposed to renting, but just happened to find that they were for sale. And I was like, look, I'm not going anywhere. I'm starting this. I'm going to, ride this out. And happened to buy 2 office units down here in Hackettstown, New Jersey. I was definitely northwest, closer to Pennsylvania, right off of Route 80. It's that alone, which wasn't expected. That has cost alone. But then you have servicing software, you have computers. In order to be licensed, you have to have certain requirements in your office. You need to make sure you have cameras and locks and certain things. And you don't realize how much that stuff adds up. And that has nothing to do with the licensing. Licensing is way bigger than just like the fee on the NMLS. You have to register your entity in that state as a foreign business. You have to get bonds. It's a lot. It's a lot more than I expected. And your size are definitely an up and neighborhood. I can't breathe because you spend so much money buying up furniture, making sure that I have my stuff ready and set up. Everybody needs their own computers. Everybody needs software. Software is you guys know, very expensive.
Right.
I didn't understand how expensive until I had to look at a price tag, getting websites built, getting portals built. That stuff all costs money, but that's what you guys as investors.
Right. Yeah.
So I would make sure I had everything for you. So it's worth it. But it's, you definitely lose some time.
So you already have a team already ready to go?
I started a team. Yeah, we're actually at a point where we're testing. I would like to open doors to other investors come October. So everything is basically set up. We have a whole bunch of licenses pending, applications sent in. We have gotten approved in about 6 or 7 states already. So we do have some. And with those states, I'm actually testing with a few investors to make sure that our processes are in order and that everything works before I open to everybody else and we fail.
Wow.
So it's more, hey, I have some guinea pigs that are willing to let me use them and bear with me to make sure that everything works and that we can get in a rhythm.
Yeah.
That's important.
Very interesting. It's very impressive because everything you're saying is just like such an entrepreneurial way of doing it where you actually have customer surveys. You actually understand the pain points. That I'm listening to them. It sounds like what do you call it? Accelerators, where you actually go through, find the pain points. Who's your customer avatar? What are they doing? Now you're actually about to start the beta period. You're going to beta period and find out the gotchas, the ahas. This is not good. This is good. We need to change it. Yeah.
It's stuff that we live and breathe on a daily.
Yeah.
So it's good to see somebody else in the space.
Yeah.
So we sympathize.
Very much. You can do it. That's their thing too. Figure out how to solve the problem with the technological solution. It'll only allow you to scale. It's one thing that we've learned. That's human interventions.
Automate. That's our biggest push too. Use technology to automate as much as you can. The customer focus really comes from our customer service department. If I can automate almost everything else, I'm going to. It's also faster. less wait time, things like that, and less manpower. People's time is valuable. And the way that I know what it's like to board loans, I know it's like how long it takes to board one loan. I know how long it takes to board 10 loans. I understand that whole process. That's what I used to do all day long. And just trying to get that as smooth and transparent as it's hard, but it's worth it. It definitely is. And just finding a solution, it's a challenge, but I'm always up for it. And yeah, I might take 4 days trying to figure it out, but I do end up figuring something out, or we're always back to the drawing board because the core is there. It's now just actually executing and making sure the execution is smooth.
That's cool. That's really cool. Yeah. Are you guys going to operate on, I guess, Eastern Standard Time, but still people open for you guys out west?
It's something that I think is very important, especially getting licensed out west. Not just the investor, but dealing with the homeowners and the borrowers. You have time frames when you can call these borrowers. And we are 3 hours ahead being over here in New Jersey than the people in California and Nevada and things like that. So I do have to keep that open. I don't want borrowers not called just, hey, they worked. They need to be called later in the day. And the same thing here. Most of them. Like, we try to pay attention to that. And I don't want borrowers or investors necessarily missed at any point in time just because of the time zone. That's very important to me as well.
Smart. I like it. We have to figure out a way to do some of the integrations with the Wi-Fi and Paperstac somehow.
We will.
Yeah. Cool.
So how many states right now are you guys licensed in? Or let's say this, by the end of the year, how many states do you think you guys will have?
Our goal was 40 states.
Holy cow.
I spent an entire 2 days nonstop, did nothing else, just submitting after submitting each application. And at that point, it ends up in the state's hands. They come back and tell you if you need anything. And it's a lot of back and forth. Some states are super quick. Some states just take forever because there's stages. Of course, when I hit submit, I'm like, okay, are we going to get this back in 2 days? No, it's never that quick. They actually have allotted a specific time. So sometimes it's 60 to 90 days that we won't hear anything because it's going through their process. We have about 6, 7 states, but I know I've submitted well over that. And a lot of them are depending, a lot of them require certain training that you had to have. So I have myself and my staff working on that to make sure that we hit every check mark on the checklist to be able to actually be approved. And it's definitely a little challenging. Some states we had to push it off for a little bit because we have requirements that as a brand new company we didn't have. And so I had to work around things like that. But I'm excited. Definitely leaving some of the states behind for a little bit. But we also sat and discussed where we see a lot of investors buying. And then there's also some states that like, hey, this is easy to get. You never know it can open doors to a new investor. And of course, now we're, our competition, our competitors, a lot of them are 50 state licenses. Or if you can't just have 10, that's going to do nothing for us.
Right.
I want to be able to accept loans. I don't like turning people away just off of a license. I would like to know, I'm totally for that. Hey, I'm buying here. There's just some states that are very tough to just work in, following the regulations, like New York, for instance. I was taking that to the background. That's a goal of mine. It's a very tough state. It's a daunting state. It's a lot of work, a lot of different requirements. But then there's others, of course, the Florida, we're already approved in Texas. Missouri, I think, was our first approval. Indiana, of course, looking at Illinois, Ohio, those have all been sent out. We got Arkansas recently, Idaho, we such a ready state for us to do that. But there's a few states that we've already been approved in, and we're just waiting for the rest. So that's also going to slow down the startup. So I'm not completely bombarded as well.
That's good.
I have so many, and that we can make sure that everything, again, is still working after the beta phase. As licenses come out, just update everybody, and hey, now we can accept it.
That's cool.
I will not accept anything, any type of loan, if I'm not licensed.
You're going to have to be Georgia for Jamie. I know that's his thing.
We are just, it's really fun. So we're already working on that. I did use them as the starters. Where do you guys have notes? Since you guys are part of my guinea pigs here. So I used the stuff that they had. And I was like, okay, this is what you need here. This is what you need here. So that's why Missouri was really popular up front. We're going on from there.
Interesting. Missouri, I never thought.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of stuff. Sorry. What kind of types of loans? I assume performing, non-performing. Will you guys be handling CFDs?
Absolutely.
So anything that you're like,
conventional lines of credits. I know that is like the biggest pain for some servicers, but I spent so much time making sure that our software was used correctly to match how home equity line of credit is to be generating run service. It's more so our system and entering that information in correctly for the system to actually do its job. So we are not stopping at anything. Seller finance has been really big this past 2 years.
Oh, wow,
So
huge.
we don't shy from away from that. I love doing the originating loan. Easy to board, easy to deal with. So there's really no
HECM loans? You guys do HECM, the reverse mortgages?
that
Perfect.
share with our NMLS because I saw a lot of them coming from this one seller over the past year and a half, 2 years. And I remember not knowing it. Just back in 2017, 16, I think is when I heard of the CFD. So I made sure that we could serve all of those because that's what I've been seeing.
Yeah, that's good. That's
A lot more reverse, a lot more seller finance been the most popular in the past.
so we can, and you guys are taking on new loans now, or are we still in, look, it's a closed private beta?
It's closed right now. We're going to open it up in October. I wanted to go through at least a full month
Okay.
of testing and make sure that their invoicing is done correctly, statements are running correctly, rate notices, payments are being applied correctly. There's so many other things, making sure lenders get their funds correctly. So I needed to get through all of September and the start of October with some things. So we'll be opening we're shooting for October. I think we could do. I know we're going to be able to do last.
Are you guys going to be doing any conferences or anything like that where we'll be able to run into?
So I was going to be at the DME at the end of this month, but with just how COVID is running, I have a child that's under the age of 12 and he's special needs and I'm mortified. Our cases up here are getting a little bit crazier. So I might not be at the DME. I'm looking into Eddie Speed's event. I think the IMN, because I don't know how big of that is for you guys, but might be going there.
That it's big, it's expensive. IMN is definitely, it'll cost you some help. Yeah, we'll be at DME and Note Expo. So
I'd say DME is right in your backyard.
yeah, it's right down I-4. So it's.
I thought about it. I tossed around the idea because I feel like that would be. I love the DME. I've always gone. I think it's very fun. I think it's, for me at least, I meet a lot of people there. I don't know how big this turnout's going to be this year, but I have a child who can't get vaccinated in the school, so I was like, maybe I might hold off on this one.
Good.
And maybe be able to join in virtually. So
That's awesome.
There's going to have that virtual.
Yeah. That's good. This is awesome. I'm excited for you. It's just great to, cool. I'm anxious to get some loans tossed over your way and see.
Trust me, there'll be a huge announcement. I tell everybody right now, because obviously Wi-Fi's been announced, sign up with me. Just get your entity set up. It doesn't cost you anything but your time. It's done electronically. You just have to fill out some forms, like the typical servicing agreement, W-9, ACH form, and things like that, because it'll actually, speed up the process of when you guys are ready to board some loans. You're already set up. Once your setup doesn't go anywhere, you're just inactive until there's an active loan. Tell everybody to just go to buyfils.com, fill out this. It asks you for your name. It's a form. It asks you for your company name, first and last name, phone number, email address. When you hit submit, you're actually send an email that I've actually drafted. It's automated, where it gives you all the forms to set up. And once you complete them, they instantly shoot over to me. So then we'll at least have everybody set up. And when the doors are open, at that point, you're just doing your loan boarding setup. And at that point here. So I've had investors who have one entity, but I've had investors who have several different entities to start setting up. And it actually cleans up our process a little bit as well.
Awesome. Cool. So if people want to get in touch with you now, it's buyfils.com. I don't know if there's an email you want to throw out or just go there and
they can go there. It'll give them also access to our newsletter. So every time you get a license update and things change, you want to be a part of that. So it'll be newsletter at buyfils.com, or you can always email me at servicing@buyfils.com.
Put these in the description.
Yeah, we'll put it in the description. And any other questions?
No, we're running on the batteries.
Works out perfectly. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure again. We're happy for you. I can't wait to see you guys explode. And it's nice to see somebody coming in, a servicing company for servicers, by servicers,
for investors,
by investors, for investors. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, exactly. And it's such a huge opportunity to export you, and happy to send you guys business along the way.
Absolutely. And you guys let me know how I can help in any way. I am naturally sending people to Paperstac. just because I think friendly. I'm on there all the time looking. Instead of creeping through some stuff, obviously it can't just be a service rep and be an investor too. So if there's anything I can do, you guys let me know.
Awesome.
great.
We'll do. Have a good one. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you so much.